Hello again, EDF friends. I just wanted to share with you some new news about Earth Defense Force 6 and Earth Defense Force World Brothers. This is from the source Famitsu online website. So, pretty much the information that they relayed in this article was, well, first of all, EDF 5 did very well in Japan. They're talking about how it sold over 500,000 units, and that was the best selling of all the EDF series, so that's good to know. They never released the stats about the English version, but I would be curious about that, honestly. They talk a little bit about the story. So they talk about how the Earth has got the humans have been wiped out by 90%, and so there's only 10% remaining of the population, and also that this will be taking place 3 years after Earth Defense Force 5. So that will be in 2027. Um, it also talks about how the colonists have been left behind from the war. And also in the ruins, there's a bunch of enemies that are forming nests. So they're rebuilding their own forces on the Earth while we're trying as well to rebuild our forces. It doesn't really mention if they're going to fight alongside the colonists with the humans, but that would be an interesting idea if they did do that, because it talks about how the colonists have their own language and they're talking and they're forming their own colonies and cities. So that would be definitely an interesting twist if they do that. It also mentions about the main units in EDF 5 are also not in the world, such as Sarge, the only I can use the blazer. Him, and then also the Grim Reaper, the Fencers, and the Spriggans. Those units are no longer in the world. At least that's from what Google Translate is saying, which, the Google Translate does struggle with the Japanese language, but as far as what I can tell. However, I do have personal confirmation that Blanche's sister Blanche is still alive, so don't worry about that. That's fine. And then it talks about, of course, Storm 1 is still fighting, which is us. So we're going to have to fight amongst the ruins. I'm not sure if we're going to go in different locations besides the Earth, but we'll see. And then last of all, it talks about a new enemy type here, which I'll show here at the end. This is just more pictures of the colonists in the city. It talks about the colonists, how they can regen their arms and legs, which we already know about that. And then at the very end, it shows a new enemy type. Let's get to this. Here's some more rune. It's just a bunch of Rune City pictures and spiders and wasps and ants. That's all they're really showing as far as the enemy types. That looks like a new nest as far as how it's like built into the buildings itself. That's kind of interesting. But here we go. Dragons. Dragons looks like they're going to return, which is pretty cool. And they actually look a lot better this time. But there's a picture of it flying, and then there's also a picture of it landing on a building here. So out in the city or out in the countryside, it's like you're fighting. There's another picture of the dragon, and there's the dragon right there with EDF forces. So pretty interesting, pretty exciting. So that's pretty much all the news that they have as far as EDF 6. Now let's go to EDF World Brothers. There's actually a very large article for this. So it talks about there's a new enemy type called the Dark Legion, and they're approaching the Earth with 6 motherships. And so it sounds like the Earth is going to be broken up into 6 different like biomes or locations. It says you have to rescue and gather all 100 plus characters in the world. So there's a bunch of course, all the characters from the previous EDF games, all the soldiers, and then also a bunch of sounds like civilians as well. And it says you form a team of 4 with each with their own special abilities. So that makes me wonder, is it going to be like Lego, like similar to a Lego game where you need to have this character to open up this locked area, or do you need this character to save this other character in the world because they each have their own abilities? I don't know, but it would definitely be a possibility because of the art style. Let's see what else. But there, of course, are old characters and old weapons from old EDF games. It says, including EDF 5, Iron Rain, and Insect Armageddon, which are which is interesting. So they're going to all be working together, and same with enemy types from those different enemies or from those different games. Let's see. Earth was also broken up into parts, it says, with boundaries. That's like right here, as you can see in this area, like they have boundaries where you can fall off the world. But I guess part of the story is these locations were separated and they're each like their own biome or separate area. So I guess the zones where you can fall off on the edge is going to be like their red border now in these particular areas. But I mean, the cities look kind of small in those pictures, but it's hard to really tell. It does You can definitely see a lot of enemies on screen. It talks about America, England, Japan, Egypt, and countryside, which would make sense because there's 6 motherships, so 6 different areas probably. Let's see what else. And it just shows a bunch of characters pretty much from all the different EDF games now at this point. Um, and like I said, we have seen that there's destruction in the game, and you have seen that there's you can see a bunch of enemies on the screen as well. Here's some EDF2 forces, Pale Wing from EDF2, and then soldiers from EDF3, EDF4 soldier, and EDF5 soldier. So there's not going to be too much difference in those, I imagine. But then here's some like Iron Rain soldiers. Um, and there's also some local people, like I guess they're just civilians. There's a cowboy. There's a maid, which, as we all know, we all have maids in our houses, so that's important. Ninja, like I was just talking to my ninja friend the other day. And then a pharaoh, of course, for the Egypt area, I guess. But definitely interesting game. I'm not sure how large it's going to be or how and how much of a like if it's going to be a full size like long campaign game, or is it going to be more of like an arcade type game where it's a shorter game, cheaper game? We're not really sure yet, but there's definitely a lot of images. As you can see, returning back to England and EDF2. As you can see, a bunch of ants on the screen. So if that's in game, that's it's quite a few enemies. She has a rapier, looks like, fighting the red ants. But yeah, it looks like pretty interesting game. I'm definitely interested. There's the old Hectors from EDF2, and then there's also the bipedal Hectors that come back. There's the wasp, spider, ants. There's the bipedal Hectors from EDF4 or 3, or 4. I guess 4. Yeah, 4. More England pictures, just a whole bunch of pictures. But yeah, that's pretty much the information for World Brothers. Like I said, I'll put the link in the description, so please visit the website, the original source, famitsu.com, and then you can use your translator on your app if you don't know the language. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to share with you. So I guess let me know what you think in the comments below, and check out the links, like I said, below. And thanks a lot for watching. Hope to see you next time.